Welcome to TerrorTown, USA, where some 9/11 pilots were trained, where party boy CIA agents who were stationed on Teshin Island in the East China Sea in the 1950s then turned Southwest Florida swamps into paradise waterfront retirement communities, where liberal lawyers, cops, and others recruit liberal freaks and criminal federal agents, cops, firefighters, and so forth from all over the world to retire in order to protect their U.S. and Canada drug hub and crime family spy and laundering operations, where lawyers and judges trap and entice police, business owners, greedy entrepreneurs, those financially struggling, and others to illegally spy on residents in order to enrich themselves, live comfortably, and or avoid being terrorized, where lawyers and judges have reorganized the courts to protect their deep state family and criminal operations, where police with blemished records are sought out in order for the crime family to gain immediate loyalty and control, where Christians, blacks, and women are oppressed and terrorized by chauvinists, prejudiced mafia lawyers, cops, and their drug entourage, where no one makes any money for any length of time without joining the crime family or dutifully serving them in some capacity, where anyone who is a threat to the crime family's job, commission laundering, and income mafia operations must either pay their dues or they are terrorized and or run into poverty, where a retired female volunteer was fatally shot by a young aggressive cop who was the perfect victim for the mafia to frame in order to oust the newly appointed chief and replace him with a trusted, dutiful Italian mafia servant, in my opinion, where the terror sheriff and local chief of police kneeled for Black Lives Matter per a reliable, seemingly reliable source, where the terrorist sheriff's office stingrayed 2 calls to my home in order to make me think a guy wearing a bulletproof vest was on his way to my home to murder me because I wouldn't let up on the terrorist sheriff and won't until he's sitting in prison for life, where lawyers and their trusted entourage recruit Italian drug mafia and poor folks to spy on ordinary law-abiding residents and terrorize those who report druggies and drug activity, where if you call the police to report drugs, you end up on a blacklist, and all your calls, emails, and texts will be illegally monitored, where a cop who helped terrorize over a decade of my life coincidentally pulled a failed suicide by cop to deem himself insane when he knew his brotherhood was being forced by federal intelligence agents to close in on him, in my opinion, where mafia lawyers build up businesses and people's incomes, then once they make a large investment, they sabotage the business or pressure their employer to demote or terminate them in order to run businesses and people into debt so the mafia can then force them into their crime family, where those who reject the demands of or expose the crime family are punished and terrorized. Some punishments include car damage, friends lured away, job loss, kids bullied in school, and so on, where churches are infiltrated by drug mafia lawyers and cops who sing in the choirs, play in the bands, and so on, in order to control, oppress, and mock Christians, as well as disguise their crime family and or drug mafia involvement, where a married pastor was rendezvousing with a woman at his church in wee hours of the night, then sent a spy to stalk me after I confidentially mentioned seeing this to a local attorney, where drug busts are done to eliminate the lawyer-cop international drug cartel competition and to con locals into thinking they are law-abiding, anti-drug, and arresting the bad guys when many of them are the bad guys, where good cops are paired with bad cops so they can be watched and controlled, as well as to use good cops as a camouflage for evil cops, where While a married sheriff detective was supposedly investigating my case, she was banging another detective on the case as well as another deputy in the department, per a source that seemed reliable. Where the terrorist sheriff was forced to terminate a crude cop who pulled his pants out of his zipper and paraded around at a bar while drunk, showing it off to customers. Where attractive people and professionals are recruited to bait residents in order to steer them to mafia-serving businesses, friends, salespersons, and even into a relationship. Where many wealthy and hardworking retirees will ultimately find themselves trapped and forced to become a crime family spy and slave in order to live comfortably or obtain the basic necessities in life. And much more. America, these monster, prejudiced, chauvinist men have stolen and terrorized 24 years of my life. I have spent the past 7 years fighting against and exposing them to federal authorities and to the Trump administration for the past 4 years. What the fuck? Decades of domestic terrorism and a 61-year-old female is left battling these creeps? Where the hell is our enormous, expensive military? We are waiting, General Flynn and DIA. Are you ready to wrap it up yet? It's not okay to leave a soldier on the battlefield facing endless enemies. Especially all alone, men. For my viewers, there's a lot more to come.